is Doug Ferguson, and I'm the Weird Christian. And I'm doing a series on the Westminster Confession, but in order to start it, I have to do a preliminary introduction to get people to actually think properly so they can actually understand what's being said. So the next section I'm doing, first we had just kind of an introduction. Now I'm doing what is truth. You have to understand what is truth in order to be able to recognize it and recognize when something's not true. Okay, and that's very important, especially when we're going to do with anything. But so I looked into some other people's ideas of what truth is, and you get basically after you go through it, you get the same kind of stories from most people about what truth is. One fellow here at the top here is Raymond Tallis, and he was being interviewed, and he asked what is truth, and he mentioned a philosopher, a Cambridge philosopher named Ramsay, and Ramsay he basically said nothing's true because everything seemed to be circular reasoning to him. He says if you assert P, and then if you assert it as true, then it's basically saying the same thing, which is redundant. So basically he's saying people assert things and then they say it's true. And then you say, well, why is it true? It's because I asserted it. It's basically a circular argument. And that's not, it's kind of silly. That's how some people get stuck in a circular argument. If you get stuck in that, then you will never move forward. You never actually you never figure it out because you just give up. It's kind of like a program that just keeps asking the same question, going the same route all the time. And so that's definitely not an understanding of truth. In this, let's try to define it. We're trying to define it, I guess. Okay, but Raymond Tallis, he basically says, and this is what you'll see all the time through all philosophy courses. There's three types of understandings of truth. There's correspondence, there's the coherent, and then there's the pragmatic idea of truth. Okay. The correspondence is that your assertions match reality. They correspond with reality. Okay, that's how to decide whether it's true or not. So if you make a statement, you can decide if it's true, if it corresponds with reality, or at least your observation of reality. Okay, so and some people, okay. So, and then also some people say that if it's coherent with other propositions, then it can be true. So you can build, make one statement, and then you can use that statement to build on another statement, and you get a system of truth. And that can work if it's tested and questioned to see if actually the statements are strong. That's basically the scientific inquiry system. Now, but you can make a system of philosophy if you start with the wrong statements and then continue on with wrong statements and keep building on it and just making the whole system and be blind to when it's not even working because you're in that system. You can do that too. You're not in the truth. You can make a system that's totally wrong, but it kind of looks like it's right. Okay, so let me give you an example of that. A person might say that there's a God that drives his chariot across the sky, and he pulls the sun across the sky, or that could be, and it works every day. He says that guy just gets up every morning and pulls this chariot across the sky. Now, it works, and you have a system, but is it true? Is it what's really going on? Okay, or you can say that the Earth is a flat disk, and then you make all sorts of a system that makes it seem like it works to you. Okay, and is that true? Does it work if it robustly questioned, or does it have some propositions, assumptions that, when questioned, they fall apart? Now, if you keep in your own little systematic thinking, it may work all the time because you never question it. You think it works because you're just in a one little area and you don't move around the earth or whatever, and you just, so it always works, right? Or you may make a system of, all sorts of systems. People make all sorts of systems. Now, whether they work or not, they may work in a small environment, but when it's opened up to a bigger environment, then you find out whether it is robust, whether it is truth. Okay, so, but there's a proposition of coherence. Okay, so people make one proposition, another proposition, and as long as it seems to be working, they think, well, okay, we got something going here. But if it may not be working if it's actually questioned in a bigger scope of thing, in an open system. When you actually look at it, or when it's robustly questioned, it may not work. Okay. Then there's the pragmatic view of what truth is. Okay, and the pragmatic view of truth is that you do something and it works. Basically, it works in your system, so it's pragmatically true, and so it works. So let's use it. Now, you may think that's the problem with a pragmatist is they may think it's working, but it may be working really badly, but they don't have a real vision of something, of a better vision. So they keep in their little pragmatic truth. So they could be a tribe in the Amazon working away, and all of a sudden, let's say, like the Mayans, they had their system that seemed to work. It was working in their little system, and it was very pragmatic. Whatever they had, it worked, seemed to work. And then Cortez came along. Well, their system was not robust enough to handle Cortez. Okay, so it was maybe pragmatic in its own little group. You want truth. You want something that's bigger than just kind of working. It might be working. Something might work for a little while, but it doesn't really handle the rough stuff, or something else. Truth has to work in the bigger universe. That's what I think anyway. Okay. So Raymond Tallis, he had a talk on that, and it's a good talk. And then you have like William Craig, and he's a philosopher, and a good philosopher. And basically, he talks about, well, you can have objective truth. Well, is there objective truth? And some people say, well, it's true that there's no objective truth. Some people say, and he says, well, is that an objective truth, that there's no objective truth? So you can see he's talking about inconsistencies in logic. So he's saying that truth is basically logical. Okay, and some people, some people you might meet could think that like their truth could be insanity. Okay, you can have a truth of insanity and work with that, and some people do work with that. Okay, it doesn't, insanity is basically an idea of insanity is it doesn't jive with real reality, but you make your own reality. Okay, and you find a lot of people making their own reality, and then trying to force it on other people, and just trying to push things, and just trying to, push a circle through a square, maybe a big circle through a small square or something like that. And they just saying, why does it work? Well, just make that circle bigger and we'll push it through harder. So we have insane people doing that. Okay, and sometimes they're in government. I'm just saying. Okay, but so is that truth? Well, I would say that they're not really using truth. I think some people are using insanity. William Craig says that truth is logical. You can use logic. He says, and he used the idea of Rene that I exist, I am, I think, therefore I am. So that's a truth. Like we have our own identity. Okay, we live. Okay, so there's that, and he's aware of the other thoughts. There's people you think about pragmatic and correspondent and coherent truth. Okay, and some people say, like, some people say, oh, well, truth corresponds with facts. Now, the problem is, when you say something like that, is what are the facts? Facts are interpreted, okay? That's what's going on. Like, just like before, you can have a truth that maybe you were all in one big machine or something, and somebody's pulling the sun across the sky, and that's how it's getting there in his chariots, and that's the facts. Okay, so and some people say, well, that's not the facts. So so how do you get to another? Let's say our scientific view. Well, you have to have certain assumptions that you use, and you build up on it. You use and they correspond, and they interrelate. And pretty soon, you get something going. You say the truth is logical, and truth is observable, and the truth is something you can test. Okay, and you can question. So, saying that truth corresponds with facts, it doesn't, like, it depends who's saying what is facts and what's not. We have all the time we have that kind of stuff going on, where somebody could say this is the facts and that's the facts, and you question it and it's not facts. It's just made up. It's their opinion. Okay. And John Lennox, he's a good philosopher, a mathematician, and he says, what is truth? Well, truth is being logical. It's not inconsistent. That's what John Lennox says. It's coherent. It's reality. It has to cohere with reality, which is what other people are saying. And you can put a case for it. In other words, when you put a case up, actually a case is where you put up an argument, and then you can have people test that argument and counter and question it. That's what actually courts is supposed to be like. Of course, not in Canada. We have kangaroo courts in Canada, and in lots of other places. Or maybe in the States, you have kangaroo courts there too. Apparently, they're all over the place. So you're not allowed to actually question anything. So, but in order to find truth, you make a case, and then when you say you make a case, that means it implies that it can be questioned, and then you can find out if the case is true, or a case is coherent, let's say, consistent. Of course, John Lennox is a Christian, and a lot of people, they lean, there was a person in the history that says, I am the truth and the way and the life. No one comes to God but through me. So anyway, so that's what John Lennox's idea is, that truth is a person, and and he also has the idea that truth has a starting point. You can't have infinite regression, which is basically a circular argument thing. What does that mean? Like, you can't, for finding out what actually created everything, you kind of you say, well, this created that, and then you get to a point where you say, well, what created everything, and did something create that? And then if you say, well, something created that, then that puts that thing into everything, and then you have you have to go back farther, and you keep going infinite regression. And when you do infinite regression, you never get to a point where you can say this is truth, because you're never finding it. It's it's like if you had time, time was infinite, okay, and you had it like a race. Well, every time you went to set the starting point, you moved it back. Well, then if you kept moving the starting point back, you can never actually start. You can't start the race until you have a starting point. And that's the idea of infinite regression. And that's why time is not infinite, because it would never start if it didn't have a starting point. That's using logic, okay? So now if you had insanity, you don't have to use logic. You don't have to, you can use insanity for a system of figuring out things. Okay, so, but John Lennox says that truth is not infinitely regressive. So he has a first cause, and he finds that Jesus is the truth. That's where he is a person. And you can't know the truth about the person by tearing them apart. You have to let them reveal themselves to you. And that's how you find out what truth is. Okay, that's where he went for this idea. Now, I have gone into a different sphere. I try to keep things simple, solid, and something you can test everything to find out if the pragmatic truth is truth, or the corresponding thing is truth, or all these things, whether they are actually truth. And it's funny, it's got 3 is an interesting number. I just use 3 things to determine what is truth. Okay, so what is truth? Truth is an essential aspect of human existence, one that has been pondered and debated by philosophers, theologians, and thinkers alike for centuries. It is a concept that is often difficult to define, but here I will define it. Truth is omnipresent, consistent, and eternal. Okay? When we speak of truth as being omnipresent, we mean that it is always present, regardless of time or location. Truth cannot be created or destroyed. It exists in all things and places. Whether we are aware of it or not, truth always surrounds us and is in us. Now, I'm not saying that we are the truth. I'm just saying what has made everything is based on truth. So everything is based on a truth. And it establishes us, it gives us our existence. Okay. Furthermore, truth is consistent. It does not change based on our personal beliefs or opinions. It remains steadfast and unwavering, even in the face of opposition or disagreement. We may interpret truth differently, but truth remains the same. So we may look at truth and see something that's true, and then maybe we disagree that it's true, or we may agree that it's true, or we may run off into oblivion. I don't know. But so we can have an opinion about the truth, or we can have an idea. One thing, like let's say for anybody that is on Earth in one spot there, they see the sun rise in the east and set in the west. So that is a truth that everybody sees. Now, how come it does that is a different story. But the truth that it rises in the east and sets in the west is something everybody sees. That is a truth. We're moving through this air and we walk on this earth. That is a truth. Now, what is this earth? What is its shape? And what is air? These are things that people have different opinions on or understandings on. And so, and some people will not accept certain assumptions that will bring them into an understanding of things, or some people just can't comprehend these things. Like, for instance, what makes this camera work? Some people might think it's magic, or it's just beyond, or it's the patriarchy or something. I don't know. So everybody has their different understandings of what creates these things that we do and see. And some of them are true, and some of them are just opinion. Okay. Finally, and truth always remains the same. The thing about truth is you can question it and find out if it's true, if it's consistent. It means it's not, a circle is a circle, a square is a square. You can have a married bachelor. That's inconsistent. You're either a bachelor or you're married, right? Okay. So, finally, truth is eternal. It has always existed and will continue to exist long after we are gone. It is not bound by time or space, but transcends both. The truth that was true yesterday is valid and will be valid tomorrow. And truth will be valid even if there is no time and space. If there is nothing, truth is valid. It transcends time and space. In a world where misinformation and falsehoods run rampant, we know that, it is more important than ever to recognize the value of truth. We must seek truth in all our lives, whether in personal relationships, political discourse, or scientific discoveries. Doing so ensures that we live in a world of honesty and integrity and respect for truth. Now, we don't really live in a world like that. We live in a world of lies. But we can move forward if we live in a world of truth. So truth is eternal. Which means that it's always has been and always will be. It's consistent. It means it's not inconsistent. I can't have my truth and you have your truth. Either one of those is not the truth, or they're both not true, or that's what it is. Either one of them is true or both are not true. Because truth is what it is. We can both have completely wrong ideas about whatever, everything. So we're both off. Or one of us could be right and one of us could be wrong. Truth but its truth is consistent. And, or we can both agree with the truth. We can both agree that something is true. So you can either have both in agreement, one right, one wrong, or both wrong. And truth uses logic. Really, it does. If you're using insanity, you're not finding truth. You're finding insanity. Okay. And there's lots of people that use insanity. Okay. Don't think that there isn't. There is. That's the truth. Okay. So truth is not an opinion, but there is an objective truth. Okay. There is an objective truth. And you can't say, no, there isn't an objective truth. Oh, is that the logic of that is, are you stating a truth that there's no objective truth? So that statement is inconsistent in itself, so it's not true. That's how you can figure out truth. When you figure out a statement whether it's inconsistent with itself. Okay. So there's three things. There's eternity, consistency, and omnipresence. I hope that and you can gauge everything on that, on those three things. You can gauge everything on that. And test to see if it's true. That's what I try to do. But we are only finite beings, so don't be too arrogant thinking that you know it, because I don't think I know everything either. So, and may God bless you. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus too, like John Lennox. Maybe not the same way John Lennox believes in God, but he's a Christian, I'm a Christian. Anyway, may God bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you.